I like to, when I'm shooting, from an architecture standpoint, always have a little dimension to the shot, so that basically you're angled just a little, so your lines are not just flat. Now, that might not be the case for an exterior where you're doing the front of a house or something like that, but for interiors, you know, I like to have a little perspective, as you've seen with most of the shots, so it's not just a flat shot, that it has dimension and kind of draws you in just a little bit from the lines. And it just, from an architectural standpoint, it makes it look more interesting than just everything's straight and, you know, kind of lined up. I want a little more of the stools in there. So in order to do that, I'm shooting at the wide end of the lens, which is the 17mm portion. This is a 17 to 40, I think I mentioned earlier. And so in order to incorporate this, then we'll go back in and we'll crop out, because it's a little wider than you would normally want it. So you just go in and crop the sides down, but you know, basically now you've got a little bit of the chairs in there as well. And check our focus. And there we go. Okay. Well, that's not too bad to start for our cabinet and dark shadow areas. So that'll be a good starting place for us. And that is a 5th at f/16. So we'll again format the card, clean it off, start with a fresh bracket. That'll be our first exposure. And then we'll bring it on down from there. Now I can see that when we're shooting, getting some nice light down here, but this bounce light has given me a little bit of hot spot back here on the cabinet. So I'm going to turn that light out and see if we can get rid of that. Well, it looks like it's probably this bank light. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and bracket on down, and then we'll actually turn the bank light off. Good. Now there, unlike before when we were shooting, our angle is different. So even though we do have that light in the door helping us with the cabinets down that way and the stove in that area, it's not at the same angle, so we don't have to worry about it reflecting in the glass tops of the counters, of the cabinets, I mean. All right, so got a pretty good bracket here. I'll go ahead and load this one into the computer as well. Okay, as you've seen with the video, the next shot that we did was the kitchen. And now we're going to take a variety of exposures of the kitchen, and I'll kind of run through those for you so you can kind of see what we were looking for with each exposure. This one was done very hot to give me detail in the cabinets, as you can see here. Of course, the lights are way too hot, the top is way too hot. But there again too, now we've got some nice detail in these areas that we didn't have before. Here's one even a little bit lighter that gives us a little more detail. We'll come down here where we've kind of bracketed down. This will give us now more detail in the countertop as well as the lights. When we get to the final on the refrigerator, what sometimes with the stainless steel is kind of tough, so basically you can just go in and kind of outline that area and just take a little brush, if you will, and just kind of color that in just a little bit with the same tone that's down here below it. You can do an overlay basically, so you still have your texture, but it basically evens out your exposure for your stainless steels. They seem to be catch a little bit of everything. So there again too, we've exposed now down all the way, so our lights are not too dark. We can use these lights. These cabinet areas that had a little bit of highlight in from the light that we have over here. We have a lot of natural light, but we also have a large bank light that is lighting this as well. Now we've taken and eliminated the strobe light, if you will, that we had here, and as you can see, we now have much warmer light on the countertop as well as back up in here above the cabinets. So when we layer all those together, as before, you get a much natural and more pleasing shot.